Hey everyone, Mitch coming in from the Commander's Core Studio. Welcome to the show. So, wow, this has been a crazy spoiler season with a lot of crazy things going on. I mean, legendary creatures left and right, and my goodness, some really cool team-ups. Maybe none as cool as this one, though, because, well, let's jump into it. We've got Kroxa and Kunoros, a 6/6 Elder Giant Dog. That's now a thing, right? An Elder Giant Dog with this great team up. Vigilance, Menace, and Lifelink that costs 3 red, white, black, and says, whenever it enters the battlefield or attacks, you may exile 5 cards from your graveyard. When you do, return target creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield. So, well, here we go. We've got a commander with an ETB and an attack trigger. So either way you want to go with this, or I mean, yes, you can take advantage of both. But my recommendation would be to maybe lean a little more heavily into one, though of course there are certain things that can help you kind of, with both essentially. Regardless, when you get that ETB, there is a cost for it, okay? You need to get rid of 5 things out of your graveyard. That being said, the payoff is massive. Basically, reanimate a creature out of your graveyard. Now, typically, there's some kind of other downside when it comes to reanimating things out of your graveyard, like on an ETB or something like that, like it's only temporary, or, like the creature, is exiled and goes away or something like that. But this one just like, nope, you keep it. And yeah, you already paid the price, essentially, right? You paid those 5 cards. You'll never get those back. But you will, again, get to use and abuse this ETB, this attack trigger, a ton with a deck built around this in a very, very good way. Basically, I mean, hey, you know what? Let's cheat out some massive creatures. Let's just keep using and abusing. Let's get more things into our graveyard. Let's just get our entire library into our graveyard. Why not? And then let's utilize all those juicy creatures out of our graveyard to demolish our opponents in absolutely no time. That's right. We don't need to cast creatures. I mean, you need to cast your commander, but we don't need to cast creatures just to get them in your graveyard in a wide variety of ways. And then, yeah, probably, blink this. Just blink this commander, get that out of your graveyard, get a massive creature into play, hit your opponents hard, maybe get some extra combats in there as well, so you can just do it again, and again, and again. Yeah, this is a really cool team up. I really like this design. Again, I like that there is that cost for this, right? You can't just say like, oh yeah, I get the creature. You do need to set yourself up. You need to set your graveyard up enough so that you can actually utilize, 5 cards out of it to get rid of those, so that you can then get that juicy creature spell to your graveyard and just play it for free. Or you're not playing it. I guess you're returning it to the battlefield. You're not casting it. You know what I mean? Regardless, on episodes like this, we're going to go through budget buys. We're going to talk about those cards that are less than $1 that you might want to consider for this commander, and then cards that are above $1, the pricier picks, cards that are outside of my budget but might be within your budget. So yeah, make sure you're considering those cards. There's going to be a card list link in the description below. Yeah, that's got all the cards I've talked about in this episode. And when new exciting commanders like this one are spoiled, well, sometimes cards that work well with them tend to go in price sooner than later. So yeah, make sure you check that link out. Consider picking some of those up. Now, with all that said, let's jump into the budget buys. And first up, we're going to be talking about some ways to set our graveyard up. And we've got the creature that can actually help us out with that as well. Corpse Connoisseur, a 3/3 zombie wizard for 5 mana. That's incredibly inefficient, but what is efficient is its ability. When it enters the battlefield, you can search life for a creature, put it in your graveyard, then shuffle. This is a fantastic tutor to go get any creature out of our library, put it directly into our graveyard, and set ourselves up for our commander's ETB or attack trigger. Also, it's got an earth for 3 and a black, so you can actually just get this out of your graveyard. Temporarily, it comes into play. You give it haste, it's going to go away no matter what. It's going to get exiled, essentially, no matter where it goes after that. That's fine. Again, getting 2 creatures out of our graveyard, or out of our graveyard into our graveyard from our library can be a great way to set ourselves up for a massive play. And speaking of that, yeah, we've got an even better one, in my opinion, a more repeatable way to do this. Auric Lore Mage. Tap, search life for a card, put in your graveyard, then shuffle. If it's instant sorcery, you get a counter on it. Well, we're not going to go get instant sorceries. Sorry. Okay, I guess we could if we really desperately need, I guess, a card with flashback in our graveyard. Or, I don't know, for whatever reason, we need a counter on this. Or we just need to go get 1 extra card for our graveyard so we can exit with our commander. Regardless, most of the time, this is, hey, tap tutor for a creature that you're going to cheat out into play with your commander. So that is a pretty fantastic thing. One that is absolutely incredible in combination with this commander. And again, just basically setting ourselves up again and again and again. What a card. Speaking of which, we've got plenty of ways to mill ourselves, and Perpetual Timepiece is a great one. This is yet another way, of course, to just get creatures into your graveyard. Tap, mill 2. Cool. Or pay 2, exile it, shuffle any of target cards in your graveyard in your library. You could do that in a desperation play if you really need to. If someone's trying to get rid of your graveyard, sure. Regardless, though, I mean, this is just a very low to the ground, tap to mill 2. That's all you need to do again and again and again. Getting 2/5 of the way there for your commander's requirement, essentially. I guess 2/6 technically, because you need a creature in graveyard too. Regardless, you might hit creatures in your graveyard. Again, if you've got some flashback cards as well, you can hit those too. But yeah, being able to just fill your graveyard throughout the game is crucial for this commander. So getting this down early can be incredibly impactful. Now, this isn't the only artifact that can help us out, though, because next up we've got Keening Stone. This thing is huge for a deck like this. My goodness, this just gives us all the fuel we need, essentially. Pay 5 tap. Target player puts the top X cards of the library in their graveyard, X the number of cards in their graveyard. Now, okay, one funny thing you can do with this actually is take a player out. Like, let's say you're actually playing against a self-mill deck, or like a reanimator deck. You can just be like, oh, you're at like 40 cards in your graveyard. Okay, let's just get rid of the other 40. Yeah, you can mill players with this too. And of course, there are ways for you to get cards in opponents' graveyards as well. That's not the focus of this. The focus of this is obviously, hey, get some cards into your graveyard, double it. Just get more and more cards off the top of your library. Mill more and more cards every single time, essentially doubling it again and again and again and again. You can get an absurd amount of cards in your graveyard. Again, you've got all the choices in the world for the creatures that you want in your graveyard. Then at that point, the creatures that you want to be able to get out of your graveyard back into play. Yeah, there's a lot of crazy things you can do when you set yourself up properly. And we'll talk about a pricier pick here in a little bit that can, well, kind of do this automatically. It's pretty sweet. Anyways, Ruin Grinder, another great budget buy that you might want to consider. A 7/4 menace, so it's a decently heavy hitter, but also it has a huge ETB. When it dies, each player may discard their hand and draw 7 cards. So, hey, every single player can wheel. That includes us as well. So, yeah, again, if we've got some giant creatures in our hand that we just want to kind of cheat on to play, great. Ditch them. Put them into your graveyard. Also, fill your graveyard with cards. Again, the more and more wheel effects that you have, the more likely you're going to be able to, just basically just dump cards into your graveyard, be able to draw in more cards, get cards you actually need in your hand, get cards in your graveyard. Could be a fantastic synergy. And of course, again, consider this. You can actually reanimate this. And if you got, say, a free sacrifice outlet, sacrifice it again, wheel again, reanimate again with fantastic plays. I mean, yeah, this can just be a very, very good value engine for you. Again, that can keep your graveyard chock full. Next up, how about Cloud Shift? A very, very simple card, okay? A very simple effect that can just have a huge impact on the game. Basically, blink a creature you control. Just exile target creature control, turn the battlefield under control. Again, our commander has an ETB and attack trigger. If I was going to probably lean one way or the other, I'd probably lean with the ETB. I mean, you can do both, obviously. But yeah, the ETB is more easily able to be used and abused because you got plenty of blink effects, essentially, like Cloud Shift. And also, yeah, it's a great way to protect your commander as well, potentially. If an opponent's trying to get rid of it, you're like, sorry, no, 1 mana, blink it, get extra value, get another creature out of my graveyard. Thank you. So yeah, a great direction to take this deck. Another way is, again, with creatures that can actually blink your commander too, like Restoration Angel. Flash flying, enters the battlefield, exile target non-angel creature you control, return the card to the battlefield under your control. So again, our commander is a lot of creature types. Elder, Giant, Dog. It is not an angel. That'd be kind of funny. An Elder, Giant, Angel, Dog. That would be pretty fantastic. All dogs go to heaven, right? That's the movie. I think it was a movie from a long time ago. Anyways, regardless, it is not an angel. So therefore, you can blink it with this. So yeah, just get this into play, get that into play. You can kind of chain creature to creature to creature with these kinds of plays as well. I mean, that might not be the best use of your, your graveyard resources unless you're just chock full and you just want to keep getting more and more creatures out. But still, this is something that you can definitely utilize. Again, a fantastic creature that can just be a big impact for you. Moving on, speaking of giant impacts, an ETB and an LTB on this one, Ashen Rider. My goodness, this hurts opponents so much. They're so afraid of this. I love it. 5/5 Flying Archon that costs 8 mana, but again, we've got ways to cheat it out into play. When it enters the battlefield, exile target permanent. Oh, wait, sorry. I misread that. When it enters the battlefield or dies, exile target permanent. So yes, this ETB can help us out, obviously. It comes into play. It's like, oh, yep, let's just get rid of that. And then if it dies, maybe in combat, maybe with a board wipe, or maybe, again, if you've got a sacrifice outlet to use and abuse certain effects, yeah, sacrifice this, take something else out, blink your commander, get this back, get that ETB again. This can decimate your opponent's boards in absolutely no time. And keep in mind, I mean, if you've decimated your opponent's boards enough, not that I'm encouraging this, but game's got to end at some point. This does not specify non-land. So, if your opponent's got a Gaia's Cradle, goodbye, Gaia's Cradle. Next up, we've got Piru the Volatile. Again, you can just cheat out some massive heavy hitters in absolutely no time with this commander. And this one can actually help with certain death triggers. Anyways, a 7/7 Elder Dragon with flying and lifelink that costs, again, 8 mana, an absurd amount of mana. But again, you can just cheat out into play, essentially. Behavior upkeep, sacrifice unless you pay red, white, black. Maybe don't do that, because, hey, here's what's going to happen. When it dies, it deals 7 damage each non-legendary creature. This is basically a one-sided board wipe in many instances. I mean, it's going to take out some of your things as well, but maybe you want those things taken out again, like an Ashen Rider, or again, Ruin Grinder. Maybe you want them taken out to get them back in your graveyard, potentially, so you can use it, abuse their ETBs again. Regardless, hey, this is going to deal 7 damage to every single non-legendary creature. It's going to take out a lot of your opponent's creatures. You're going to gain an absurd amount of life. Again, Piru has lifelink. That means that every single instance of that 7 damage, so let's say there's 20 creatures in play that it hits, you're gaining, what, 140 life? And you can keep getting this back because you're going to sacrifice it. And if you blink your commander, you get it back. Yeah, this can just be a massive, again, repeatable board wipe for you that is going to pad your life total like none other. And of course, it's a massive threat as well. So if you want to keep it around, sure, pay that mana. Keep it around. It's a 7/7 flying lifelinker. Enjoy. So yeah, there's some huge heavy hitters you can get. And one that can make a massive impact that isn't a legendary creature, though, is Flare the Hatebound. This is a crazy good card for this commander. 4/2, Undying Devil. When it or other creature enters battlefield from your graveyard, that creature deals damage equal to its power to any target. Now, every single time you get a creature out of your graveyard, you're kind of like Warstorm Surging, which is also a good card for this commander anyways, but you're kind of like Warstorm Surging out of your graveyard too. So yeah, cheat out a creature from your graveyard. Maybe it's a massive one like Piru. Cool. Just gonna have it, dish out damage like that too. And also, another creature. Yeah, that creature's doing the damage. Just gotta make sure. I was making sure that creature's doing the damage. So yeah, again, if it's Piru, hey, that's 7 lifelinking damage too. So make sure you keep that in mind. Yeah, this card can do a lot of work for you in a deck like this in combination with other things like Warstorm Surge, etc., etc. Moving on though, let's move on to the pricier picks. Again, cards that are above $1. Just outside my budget, some of them, and some much outside my budget, like Entomb. This is an expensive card, but a very good one. Instant for a single black mana, search the library for a card, put it in your graveyard, then shelf your library. This can just be a really quick way to set yourself up again. Your opponent might think you don't have anything good in your graveyard, right? They're like, oh, I don't have any creatures in their graveyard, I'm fine, I'll go do this or this or that. And you're like, you know what, right before my turn, I'm gonna Entomb. Let's get that in my graveyard, blink my commander. Get a giant creature out of your library into your graveyard. Yeah, it can just be a fantastic, surprising way to do that. Speaking of which, Buried Alive, not as surprising. It's not an instant, but still, 3 mana, sorcery. Go get 3 creatures, put them into your graveyard. Oh my goodness, the amount that this can set you up is absurd. Again, I talked about potentially chaining creature after creature after creature. There's definitely a way you could do that with this. Also, hey, just, you know what? Go get just the biggest creatures you got. Get those game-ending creatures. Get them in your graveyard. If one doesn't work, the next one will. If that one doesn't work, the next one will. Take your opponents out with just a massive glut of creatures. Buried Alive is great. Speaking of great, Mesmeric Orb. Oh my goodness, the amount this can mill you is absurd. And actually, it can mill your opponents too, which is quite funny. A artifact for 2. Whenever a permanent becomes untapped, that permanent's controller mills a card. Again, just in a game of Commander, there's going to be a decent amount of rounds, right? There's going to be a decent amount of troops around the table. You're going to be tapping lands. You're going to be untapping them. You're tapping creatures, untapping creatures. This is just a low to the ground 2 mana. Hey, mill yourself a lot throughout the game. You tap 7 lands. You untap them next turn. Cool. You just milled 7 cards just for tapping your lands. That, helps meet your commander's requirement of those 5 extra cards. Plus, it helps you hit more and more creatures in your graveyard. So yeah, it's a lot of fantastic milling effects, including this one in the pricier picks. Maybe none as good, though. It's not really a milling effect, technically, but Morality Shift is hilarious and so good with a commander like this. Now, you got to be kind of careful with it, too, because, well, here we go. Sorcery for 5 black, worth every mana in this, though. Exchange your graveyard in your library, then shuffle your library. Hey, you see that giant stack of cards over here? Let's just switch that with the graveyard, which is maybe this big. Okay, now they're switched, and you have a giant graveyard, which of course allows you to utilize your commander's ability again and again and again when you're blinking your commander or whatnot. Yeah, if you got 60 cards in your graveyard, cool. You can blink your commander however many times. What, like 10 times before running out of cards in your graveyard? I mean, counting at 5 plus the creatures. Yeah, 10 times. Cool. You can get an absurd amount of creatures out of your graveyard. You can set yourself up. You can get the exact creatures in your graveyard that you need, essentially be like, oh yeah, I just, I know it's in my library, so let's just switch these. Okay, yeah, now my best creatures in my graveyard that I'm going to go get out and cheat out, and it's going to be fantastic. Again, be careful. If you don't have a library, if you don't have a graveyard, now you don't have a library. There we go. Be careful. You don't want to mill yourself out with this. And to my knowledge, there isn't a Labman win condition in Mardu that I know of. I mean, maybe there's definitely ways you can prevent yourself from losing, but still, I don't think you can just win the game by drawing out. So yeah, regardless, make sure you're being careful with this one, but it can be a massive, really cool play. Next up, Relentless Assault. Again, if you are going to go for extra combats, there are certain creatures that can help you with that as well. But yeah, just simple, extra combat spells like Relentless Assault. These have gotten decently expensive recently. Wizards, reprint them, please. My goodness, they're so effective. This used to be like a 40-cent card. But yeah, this is great for this kind of a commander. Untap all creatures that attack this turn. If this main phase is with a combat, fall additional main phase. Basically, hey, it's a long way of saying you get an extra combat. Cool. So yeah, just swing with your commander again, get that trigger again. Again, especially for a budget, channel, I would probably more so build on the blink side, because again, there's more blink effects than extra combat effects that are budget friendly. Regardless, you can do a combination of both depending on your budget, and yeah, there's definitely going to be some builds around this that could be very impactful with an extra combat strategy. But yeah, also in the pricier picks, we've got a lot more, blink spells as well, like Ephemerate. Very effective, very efficient. 1 mana, blink a creature. This rebounds. You get to do it again next upkeep. So yeah, basically get 2 triggers off of your commander, which can be fantastic. Speaking of which, Conjurer's Closet. Basically a free blink at the end of your turn. Hey, beginning of your end step, you may exile target creature control, turn the battlefield under your control. Yeah, that's quite nice, quite efficient, quite effective. Again, maybe you don't even want to utilize your commander's blink, or not blink. Maybe you don't want to use your commander's ETB. Maybe you've got, again, like an Ashen Rider in play that you want to utilize that ETB. There's plenty of other fantastic ETBs from creatures that you can utilize very effectively with something like this. And again, it is free. Get it down. Just get extra value throughout the game with this. Teleportation Circle, yet another one, again, in these colors that you get access to. Beginning of your end step, exile up to 1 target artifact or creature, turn the battlefield under control. Under its owner's control, I should say. Yeah, basically, again, the more and more of these effects you have in play, yeah, the more effective they might become. Again, being able to utilize multiple creatures, ETBs, etc., etc. A lot of cool things that you can do with this. And yes, just also in these pricier picks, you've got access to some even bigger creatures to cheat into play, like the incredibly disgusting It That Betrays. My goodness, this is gross. 11 level Eldrazi for 12 mana, but again, when you're reanimating it, when you're cheating it into play, you are not paying that. Annihilator 2. So whenever it attacks, the defending player sacrifices 2 permanents. Ouch. On top of that, double ouch, because whenever an opponent sacrifices a non-token permanent, goes on the battlefield under your control. So essentially, hey, opponents, sorry, you lost your things. Oh, they're mine now. Now I'm going to take you out with your own permanents as well. So again, getting this into play can just be a really big game-ending play for you, and there's a lot of other big game-ending plays that you can take advantage of in these pricier picks as well. Regardless, overall, yeah, I think a very exciting commander. Again, an Elder Giant Dog. Who thought we'd see today? This is fantastic. I love this pairing. I really like the flavor between both of them. And again, a 6/6 Vigilance Menace lifelink is already pretty good. And then on top of that, yeah, hey, just ETB, attack trigger. Just take advantage of that in a lot of different ways. Cheat out a lot of exciting creatures. This one, I think, is going to be pretty popular. I think some players out there are going to be really excited about this one. I mean, who doesn't love Bestest Boys? And it's a 3-headed Bestest Boy. So there you go. Make sure you check out that card list, link in the description below if you haven't yet. Consider picking up some of those cards if you're excited about this one. Also, make sure you check out my most recent episode on the new Elesh Norn. My goodness, is this a brutal iteration of Elesh Norn that can be, well, quite, well, again, I'm going to say brutal against your opponents. It's got some pretty disgusting things that it can do. And yeah, make sure you're staying tuned to this channel for even more exciting quick takes and spoilers coming out. And of course, as always, well, thanks again and have a good one. This show and episodes like this one are possible thanks to viewers like you. If you're looking for an easy way to help support this show, make sure that you like, share, and subscribe. Also, hit that bell notification icon so you don't miss any new episodes. You can also go check out our playmats and other merchandise at thecommandersquarters.com. We also have a ton of brand new t-shirt designs in stock, so make sure you check out those as well. Another easy way to support this show is with our TCG player affiliate links. So whether you're buying a deck or individual cards, you can use this general link right here or one in the description. And the final way that you can support this show is by supporting us directly by becoming a patron. There are many benefits to being a patron, and I truly couldn't do this without all of their support.